Man walks into a hardware store, asks where he can find the drills. What is he there to buy? Hey, what's up? I'm Ken. This is KenfuTV, and each week I release videos in the martial arts, philosophy, technique, training, that sort of thing. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I hope you stick around. I hope that you subscribe. I hope that you share this with someone you think that can get a benefit out of it. And most of all, I hope that you join the conversation in the comments, because each week there are really great comments from you guys, and we talk about those. I try to talk about those, at least one of those every week. Honestly, some of the stuff said in the comments is better than what I'm saying. So if you like what I'm saying, go read the comments. Some of these videos can be longer than the average attention span, so in the description below are chapter markers. You can jump to the part that you're interested in. Today we're talking about drills. We're talking about all the different drills we do in the martial arts and my thoughts on them, and I have very, very specific thoughts on them. But first, really quick, Ryan Mooney Combat Karate shot this shirt over. I didn't even know it was coming. It just popped up in the mailbox today, literally moments before I filmed the drills that I'm going to be showing in the video, so I threw it on, and it's part of this video, so I'm very excited. Ryan, thank you so much. Seriously, how awesome are his shirts? They're so cool. So his gray shirt's one that I wear in jiu-jitsu all the time, and this one I think is going to be right next to it. Mostly I hope you go check out what he's doing, because he's got some really great stuff. He's putting out videos on YouTube. He's got a great school. If you're in that area, I hope you go check it out. Be sure to catch up with him. I'll have links to his stuff in the description. So a lot of you might know, if you've been following the channel, you might know that I do these videos on Bujin TV also. If you haven't seen Bujin TV, link below. Bujin TV is Netflix for martial artists, and it's awesome. Christian Romanelli, James Penkovitz, they put together an amazing product. This platform is just epic, and they have so many great names. I am honored to be considered amongst the lowest of them, because there are so many really great people on there. You gotta go check it out. And for an incredible low price, you get as much martial content as you can handle added to it constantly. I have never been able to run out of things to watch over there. And if you like the kind of stuff that I'm doing, then you'll like the stuff over there. But speaking of Bujin TV, there's going to be breakdowns of the drills that I show in this video. I've been meaning to do some content specifically for Bujin TV, and some of the first things I'm going to put out are drills. These ones that we're talking about today, I'm going to put some breakdowns of how to do the drill, and more importantly, what I think is important about it. So be on the lookout for those videos to drop. There'll be a bunch of individual videos of each of the drills dropping over the course of the next couple weeks. So drills. I guess we might just have to start another one of those challenges where we see how many times I can say the word drill in this video. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be many drills. We're talking about drills. And we're talking about why I hate drills, and why I think they really mess up your training. Just ruin it. I know what you're thinking, Ken, what the hell are you talking about? There are so many really good drills. I know this drill, I know that drill. They're all really great drills. Why would I not want to be doing those drills? I know, I get it. There are a bunch of drills that I really love, drills that I swear by. But what I swear by even more is that drills are abused constantly. So we should probably start off with talking about what a drill is. I believe a drill is a piece of repetitive training that covers 4 areas. It's responsible for teaching, for cultivating, for refining, and for reinforcing a skill or a set of skills. That's what I believe a drill is. That's what I believe a drill does. Also among the arts that I train are the Filipino martial arts, and if you are familiar with those, then you know where I'm going with this, which is that Filipino martial arts is known for its drills. All these different ones that exist that are super fun, super cool. Honestly, in a lot of ways, they're why people start doing the Filipino martial arts. They see some Sinawali sticks hitting really fast, and they're going, oh my gosh, I want to learn that. That's so cool. Here's what I know about that. I know that people are really quick to want to learn these drills. So they do that. I mentioned that a drill is for teaching, and then they want to practice it. Sinawali was a perfect example. Heaven 6, your standard, hitting 6, Heaven 6, everybody knows Heaven 6. If you do any martial art where Kali or Eskrima is part of it, but you're not training Eskrima, it's just a part of what you do, then you probably do Heaven 6 Sinawali. You probably do Hubad Lubad. You probably do those, because they're passed this way. You might do some Sumbradas. They're a 3 count, 4 count, 6 count Sumbradas. But you have these drills, these preset things. You pick them up at a seminar and they become part of what you do. The problem is people pick them up, they get good at them, and I watched it. People would learn, they'd, oh, I want to learn that. And somebody like, oh, let me show it to you, and they show it to them. And then before every class, they get to go, oh, let's do Sinawali, let's do Sinawali. Let's get that Heaven 6. And they go constantly. Every class, every chance they got. It was 5 minutes waiting for people to get a drink, having 6 Sinawali. And people do this constantly, and they become really good at doing the drill. But nobody stops to remember that the drill's purpose was to teach a skill. The drill didn't teach you how to fight. That's not what its goal was. So let's jump back to the opening of the video. The guy walks into the hardware store and asks where he can find the drills. What is he there to buy? A really wise friend of mine who was giving me some perspective when it came to sales said when that man walks into the hardware store and he asks for those drills, he did not come for a drill. He came for a hole. He came to buy a hole. He needs a drill to accomplish the hole that he needs. And he said to me, he said, when you understand what they came to buy, what they are there to accomplish, then determining what they need is easy. But if you just think he needs a drill and you think that he knows what he needs, when maybe you're the expert, and you just hand him the drill he asks for and says, hey, have a great day, you might have doomed him to failure. You might have doomed him to frustration. You might have doomed him to scorn you and curse your name, because what he wanted was a hole. And if you sold him the wrong type of drill that either can't accomplish that hole or gives him the wrong type of hole, then you gave him the wrong thing. And people forget that. People forget that when you go to buy tools, you're buying what the tools do. It's not entirely true. Some people just collect tools. They just, I don't have one of those. I better put one of those. I got a drawer, I got a spot. It's perfect. It fits just great. I don't know what else to do with it, but I want that. Some people do that. There's probably people. Most people have a toolbox full of tools that they got, that they originally bought. Most people's toolboxes are built by having a task they needed to accomplish and then purchasing that individual tool or a couple tools to accomplish that task. And then it's part of their set. I know that's how my toolbox looks. I have a set of tools that I inherited from my father that he gave me to start off my toolbox. And the rest of my toolbox has fleshed out because I had jobs I needed to do, things I needed to accomplish that I needed a specific tool for. So I went and got that tool. And then it became part of the toolbox. And I reach for that tool when I need what that tool does. I don't reach for that tool just because. But more importantly, when I bought that tool to accomplish the task that I had, I got with it an understanding of what that tool is used for, how it applies. Maybe I don't have the full scope of everything it does, but I know what it can do, and I maybe know what it can do well. I also probably have an idea of what it can't do well. Ian Abernethy talks about how a paintbrush is a great tool and a hammer is a great tool, but if you're trying to hammer in a nail with your paintbrush, it's probably not going to be the best result. You've got to have the right tool for the job. And the byproduct myth, if I have this, if I train karate, then I can defend myself. Insert whatever you want there. If I train X, then I can defend myself. If I train X, then I can do this. That's a byproduct. That byproduct only exists if it was part of the intent of what was taught. So if I give you drills, and what people were doing is people were giving each other. I had taught people Heaven 6 in a Wally. Other people had come in with it from other places. They had Heaven 6 in a Wally. And then when they shared it, they shared and they gave the tool. But they didn't explain how to use it. They said, oh, come here, let me show you this. And then they had this tool. And then there'd be another drill. Oh, you haven't done Hubad the butt? You haven't done Hubad? You got to come do that. Let me show it to you. We'll do it. Oh, yeah, we should do Sumbrada. Oh, you've got Heaven 6. You've got Sinawali down really good. We should do Sumbrada. You know, or in the Heaven 6 or so, there were a number of variations that I learned, and then there were even more when I did a seminar with Inasanto. He went over the permutations and showed that there were 300 some odd variations of Sinawali. So you could collect all the different variations. You could try all the different variations. You could do these different seminar-based drills, but if you only collected them to become good at doing them, and then you teach somebody so they can do it with you, and then you can do it well together, but you don't know what it's for, then what have you accomplished? What are you spending your time on? Now, admittedly, people that do that, if you do start teaching them what they need, what it's for, if they spend a lot of time getting good at that drill, then they probably can translate that pretty quickly, and that's fine. Repetition is valuable. But this thought came to me the other day because I was talking to a student. We were doing private lessons, and we were talking about drills, and I said, why are you doing this drill? Because you have to know why. And when you practice a drill, and there are things, Sinawali is a good example of a drill that you can do by yourself. When you practice that drill by yourself, what are you trying to accomplish? What skill are you trying to develop? Are you trying to develop coordination? Are you trying to develop speed? Are you trying to develop power? Well, if I'm trying to develop speed and I'm practicing the drill for power, I'm hitting really hard, So I'm not going slow, I'm not building smoothness, and I'm not practicing being fast, I'm just practicing hitting hard, well, then I'm not practicing what I'm trying to accomplish. If I'm trying to train for power, then training for power is the right way to practice for power. If I'm trying to train for speed, I need to practice for speed. I need to put emphasis on the thing that I'm trying to accomplish specifically. And if I don't take time when I choose my practice to determine why I'm practicing it and what I want to cultivate, what I want to extract from it, then how could I ever be certain that I would ever get there? And that's the problem with the byproduct myth. If my goal is to be able to defend myself, and then I go to a sports school, it's likely that I will develop skills that I could use to defend myself. But it's also very likely that I will spend very little time on the soft skills, understanding situational awareness, understanding how violence works, understanding the different types of violence, understanding de-escalation. So while I might gain a percentage, I'm also not training it in the best way to use it. I'm not training it under the conditions that it may be used against me. And I'm not training it with these other parts of it that are integral to it. If I want to train for sport, that's fine. But there's no byproduct there. I'm training for sport and I'm getting the training for sport. If I want to train for something specific, I need to choose that thing. I need to train for it. Filipino martial arts drills have a tendency to flow really well. And that's what I love about them. And that's why I use them very often, is because repetition is maximized when it never ends. When the drill loops and loops and loops, then you're able to maximize the number of reps you get in. And if it's a symmetrical drill, then both of you are getting the same amount of reps the whole time. But it's very important that I understand what the drill is doing, what skills it's trying to pass to me, and that I also practice using those. Sinawala is a good example. It has a purpose and a function, and it's very functional when you use it, but practicing it that way needs to be a part of it. If I only ever practice it with a partner where we're always matching with each other, then I never get to put it in the context of how I might actually use it to employ defending myself or attacking or whatever it is that I'm doing. So I have to do that. I've got to make sure that it's part of the training. Some drills are broken from the start. Sumbrada being one of those. Sumbrada, the very first Sumbrada I ever learned were these 3-count and 6-count Sumbradas. And they looped on themselves in 3 counts and 6 counts. Sumbrada means to have an exchange. That we have this back and forth, counter for counter kind of situation. In a 3-count drill, for example, you might attack and I defend, I attack, you defend, and then it loops, and then we do the opposite of each other. Well, in the 3-count and 6-count drills, they're patterns, they're choreographed, they're predetermined. And you can become very good at them, and you can look really cool doing them. And it sounds awesome, it's loud, the sticks are clicking, and everything's happening, and it's just so cool. But that's not what Sumbrada is. Sumbrada is this exchange. It's this conversation. And it shouldn't be limited to a pattern. It should have the ability for you to flow and understand how to manage being struck and then return a strike of your own. To use fencing terms, it's important to realize that I'm parrying or blocking and then having a riposte. So to be able to do that, I have to be able to break out of that, because what if you don't do one of the 3 things that were in the drill? My art hasn't failed me, the drill has. Sumbrada itself was never meant to be in a pattern, but it does get used at seminars, and what often happens is people learn something at a seminar and they bring it back and they practice it and they get good at it, and they never realize that it was limited from the beginning because the situation was limited. There was a limited amount of time. There might have been an enormous amount of people, more than the average amount, because of the fact that it was a seminar, it was a weekend thing or whatever. So things get taught differently, things get taught incompletely, but sometimes they get preserved as though that was the complete thing, and as though that was how you were intended to continue on. So it took a fair bit of time for me to realize that that's what had happened to me. My instructor and the students that had worked with him had done that. They had worked with his instructor, and they had picked up things in a seminar fashion, and then they hung on to them as though that was it. And then I learned them that way. And then one day I'm talking to their instructor, and I'm asking him about the Sumbrada or something like that. And he's going, well, this is what this is. And he starts explaining it to me, and I realize how the ones that I had learned were good examples of a particular instance that could occur, but they were not meant to be the whole drill. And so I realized that while I had obtained a thing, I didn't know why I had it, and then I certainly did not have what it was actually intended for from the beginning. So I had to expand my horizons. I had to take that into consideration and train to incorporate this newfound knowledge that those don't work quite that way. In fact, I don't intend to teach those other ones anymore at all. It's a decision that I've made that I don't intend to teach them, because they themselves, the pattern can actually create, as Mark Bakita puts it, it creates a prison. And now I'm locked inside this prison and I feel like I can't get out of it. I'm stuck feeling like I need to do this, and then when things change, then it breaks and I'm not able to function properly. So I don't even want to create situations where that's what happens. I willingly put people into a prison and say, well, I'll show you the rest of the place later, and then never show it to them. Instead, I want to start showing them the proper example from the very beginning and continue with that. Now, there's a place where those drills, there's an exception. There's a place where those drills do have a function, and that is demonstration. Choreography makes for good demonstration, period. The best things you've ever seen, probably choreographed. Now, I feel when somebody's skill gets high enough, a demonstration can be done with just the skill itself, but it's not usually designed or performed in such a way that gets a crowd excited. A crowd full of people who already know what's going on? Yeah. A crowd full of people who don't know what's going on, who you're trying to attract to maybe teach, they need to be wooed. They need to be wowed. So a demonstration team might have these individual things. Honestly, when it comes to seminars, I'd rather teach the basic concept of actual Sumbrada than teach the pattern and then leave someone with that. Now that I realize that that's a thing that happens, I don't really want to perpetuate it. For you karate people, kata has been treated this way. There's been a lot of time that kata has been passed as this is the kata, we learn it, and then when we're done learning it, we practice it to become better at it, and we practice it to become perfect at it, and we continue to learn another one, and then another one, and then another one. And we never learned why we're doing it, and that creates the issue. Kata becomes one of those failed drills at that point. Failed drills can create that situation where now you're just practicing to practice and you're doing kata to be good at kata. And that's why kata has a bad name. People go, well, you'll never defend yourself with kata. You'll never get attacked in the perfect way to be able to use your kata to defend yourself. I absolutely cry BS. Your kata and the things that you learn because of kata can 100% do all of those things. If you learn them. If you only ever learn the kata, they're absolutely right. It will fail you. It will fail you. You can do it crisp and perfect and just judges scores through the roof. And then that byproduct myth is telling you that I've got what I need, and you don't. You don't have it. You've got to spend the time understanding what was meant to be taught to you. When you do Hubad Lubad, there's reasons for it that teach you certain things. When you do Sinawali, there's reasons for it that teach you certain things. A phrase that I picked up at a seminar with the style that I do, Tobosa Kale Eskrima, Maestro Lee said, practice the drill to learn the skill, then keep the skill and forget the drill. It's not important. Get rid of it. Retain the skill. Keep what it taught you. Don't worry about the drill. The only reason you need to keep the drill is so that you can pass that skill to someone else and you can use the drill to do it. But it's not the only way to pass that skill. Maybe it's the best way, so you might want to, but maybe it's not. And maybe you come up with a different drill or you come up with a different way and you pass that same skill. It's the skill that you're trying to pass, right? You're trying to pass the skill. I'm trying to buy that hole. I don't want to pass on the drill to the next person and the next person and the next person and never teach them where to put the hole and what kind of hole they need and why that hole is beneficial. Can't do it that way. There was a moment in my training where I realized that maybe I did know something. Maybe I do have some skill. Maybe I am an advanced practitioner. Maybe I do deserve to wear that black belt that I wear. That moment was when I began to create drills on the fly to pass a skill. Now, I'm not just saying I created drills, because honestly, when I was blue belt, we had things where we built a drill or did whatever to kind of develop that concept of doing that. That didn't make me advanced. That didn't make me anything special. But when I'm sitting in front of a classroom full of people and I'm seeing someone and I'm seeing that they're lacking something, they're not quite getting what I'm trying to get to them, and I have something I need to draw out of them. I need to get them doing something a certain way, or I need to pull a particular skill out of them. And on the spot, I crafted a drill to be able to work that thing. Not meant to ever be remembered again. It just was a thing that I made so that you could get reps on the thing that I wanted out of you. After I had done that a number of times, and people pointed out, we haven't done this drill in a while, whatever. And I realized, I never cared about that drill. That was one of those realization moments for me that I'm like, maybe I do know something, because I'm able now to create a pathway for you to learn what I'm trying to get you, regardless of having been taught how to teach that thing. Maybe I was never taught that, but now I know how to pull that out of you. That showed to me that my level of knowledge of what I had to offer was great enough, that I understood it whole enough that I could break it apart and approach it in new ways to be able to pass it to the next person so that they had it and they could start to develop their skill level with it. That was another Mark Makita quote. I remember a clip that I saw a long time ago, him sitting at a dinner table and somebody asking him, and it's like an 11-second clip. It's super short. Link it maybe down below.
So a student of mine years ago asked me, how can you tell the difference between a beginner and an advanced person? And I said that a beginner learns about principles through the acquisition and perfection of technique. And an advanced person creates technique through the application of learned principles.
That's significant. That stands out in that whole Shuhari model, this idea of creating. You can create and have no idea why you create. I look back at some of the drills that we made when I was a yellow belt or a blue belt. They were fun to do, and we did them, but they weren't directed. They weren't guided. They didn't have a purpose. I remember at one point making my own kata. Took my favorite things, strung them in a line. I kind of pictured a fight of people around me. In fact, it was called kakomorete, and kakomorete means surrounded, because in my mind I was doing a movie fight. Really, when you think about it, that's what I was doing. I was picturing fighting this guy and then into that guy and throwing this guy over here, and it was stunt choreography. It looked like a kata and it had all my favorite techniques in it. But it was based on this flawed principle that you're just surrounded by 8 people that you gotta fight all the time. And every time you take someone out, somebody else comes in. It was garbage. But I liked it, and people were excited about it, and they're like, "Oh man, you know, in our style, at some point you had to create your own kata at a certain rank, 5th or 6th or something." And I remember people like, "Oh, he's already ready for his 6th degree. He's already got his kata and all this stuff." You know, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." No, it was garbage. It was dumb. It was a thing I did, and I'm glad I did it, but it doesn't have a purpose. It was a freestyle dance, recorded and practiced. It wasn't teaching anything. And I believe kata's meant to teach something. I've considered making another kata for myself. And we've run some pretty interesting exercises where students have made kata to encapsulate what they've learned from me. Just as an exercise and the reason why kata exists. And I've considered doing that again for myself, going, what would a kata that I make look like now? But I would approach it so differently now, because I would approach it from what do I need to teach you? What skills and principles do you need to do the things that I want you to be capable of doing? And how do I teach those to you? How do I prioritize those to you? How do I make sure that they get across to you and build that in you? And that changes everything when you're thinking about what you want to accomplish rather than what it looks like. And whether it is your favorite, then functionality is created. That's my feeling. That's how I feel about kata. That's how I feel about drills. That's how I feel about all these things we pass around, and we never focus on the skill. We focus on getting good at the drill and perpetuating the drill, and forget that there was a reason why the drill existed, and sometimes a thing that the drill is measuring. And that was the context of how this conversation happened with this friend, is when we were training, I could see the emphasis in their mind of retaining the drill and performing it correctly, rather than utilizing the drill to demonstrate the skill that I wanted to see them possess and to improve. So what do you think? Are you using your drills the way they should be used? Are you buying a hole, or are you buying a drill? If you want to dig deeper into some of the drills that I teach and understand a little bit more about why I teach them and how I teach them and what I think they're trying to pass on to you, be sure to jump over to Bujin TV. I'm going to try to put a discount code or something. I don't know if I have one. I'm going to try to make that happen in the description, so check for that. They actually just released a new app for phones and stuff like that, so you can do that on your phone and stuff too. But jump in there, and I'll be releasing some of these videos that have some of my philosophy as it comes to actual technique and drills trickling out over the next couple weeks. Quickly, we'll go look at my favorite comment from last week, have a conversation about that, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, it's time to talk about my favorite comment from last week. Last week's video was Sensei Knows Best, based on John McClane's book, Made on the Mats. Something that was said in there. Hope you go check out that video. Hopefully you check out his book, because it's awesome. But the comment this week that stands out to me is James Newman saying, "This video was a home run for me. Very much appreciate it, and it couldn't have come at a better time." He actually reached out over Facebook and kind of let me know what was going on, and it was a really powerful thing for me to hear the impact that video had and why it had an impact. It's my favorite comment this week because it just really reinforces why this part has become such an important part of making these videos. That this community, these comments, these things, this conversation that we're having is so important to me. So James, I really appreciate that you left that And I really even more so appreciate that you dropped me that line on Facebook and we talked a little bit. You guys are always welcome to, if you want to friend me on Facebook, there's a KenFu Facebook page. I never talk about it. There's a KenFu Facebook page. You can link down below for that. And you can friend me on Facebook too if you like. You can hit me up on Messenger. You can shoot me an email, ken@kenfu.tv. No hesitation. If you want to reach out and talk to me, let's talk. In fact, I look forward to it. You get something you want to go over or talk about that you maybe don't want to drop a comment on, or something that you want to go deeper about, just hit me up and we'll talk about it. I did want to quickly talk about 2 other comments, and then I still plan on making a video with the rest of the comments. But Kyokushin Society says, you kept my attention to the end, but the music, thought that it was too loud and stuff too. And Kyokushin Society, I appreciate this comment. You didn't hurt my feelings at all, and I am actually thankful for this, because that's one of the hardest parts for me, is being able to make these videos, do them the best that I can, the way that I think maybe they should be, and I never know how they're received. So your comment was very useful, and hopefully this video, if you're watching this one, has been better. I've been trying some new techniques over the last few videos and trying to kind of up that production quality, and how I'm managing audio levels and ducking and scooping the mids and doing all the different things that I'm coming to find out you can do. And hopefully that is helpful. I'm not ready to go no music, because I just feel like, I don't know, I appreciate that you guys tolerate me jabbering on about this or that. But I feel like it'd just be so boring if there wasn't at least something else to think about or hear sometimes. Maybe you don't agree, let me know. But there was one more. Stuart James Gray says, once COVID-19 thing is no longer an influencer and travel's opened up, you should have a meet and greet. And actually, I would love to. I've got big news coming with our dojo. We are expanding and more than doubling the amount of space that we have. Construction is happening right now. And one of the things that I'm most excited about for that is the ability that will bring for us to have people in for seminars, or maybe invite people in for me to teach a seminar, or just gatherings and trainings and different kind of things. I don't know. Opportunities are coming. So if that's something you guys are interested in, if you guys want to do a meet and greet, or you want to do some seminars or something like that, just let me know. Talk about it. Hit me up. That's it for this week. I was trying to keep it short. I think I just went way over, but I do that sometimes. If you've been following this channel for a while, then you probably know that a short amount of time for me is kind of long. Sorry about that. Anyways, catch you later. Well, that's it. That's all I got. Something I say often at the end of class. At least, if nothing else, I'm out of time. That's all you get for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it meant something to you. And if it did, I hope that you share it with somebody who you think could benefit from hearing why maybe drills and skills are different and they need to be treated as such. If you like what I'm doing, if you like these videos, you can subscribe to the channel right here. You can catch a playlist of these videos right here. And here's a couple more you might like right here. I'm Ken. This is KenfuTV, and I'll catch you in the next one.